Welcome, everyone. Today is the 7th day of January 2020, and we'll begin our City Council meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll rise and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could I ask the city clerk to do roll call, please?
Harrington.
Here.
McKinney.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Schuster.
Here.
Stalder.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Gabriel.
Here.
Shumway.
Here.
That's 9 present and 0 absent, Your Honor.
All right. At this time, we now have public comments at the beginning of each of our city council meetings. So if there's anyone here that would like to come forward and make public comments, you're welcome to do so. There's a timer up here for 3 minutes, and you have 3 minutes, and I see Sarah Gorin getting ready to come up, so please come up and give us your name, and then also there's a place for you to sign. Looks like you got a group with you, so.
I do have a
group project,
here,
good.
right. Is that like 3 times 4?
No, hey, we got 12 minutes.
Honorable Mayor and council members, thank you for this opportunity to be here. We are Albany County Clean Water Advocates. I'm Sarah Gorin, also our Secretary Martin Growler, Board Member at Large Paul Taylor, and our intern Connor Mullen. And we just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the City Council and the City Administration, all these folks over here who have done a lot of work to protect city springs, which is part of the drinking water supply for most of the residents of Albany County. We'd like the public to know that when the city was made aware of trash dumping near city springs, steps were taken to clean up the trash and to reduce the possibility of further dumping by installing a gate. We would also like to thank Galen Thaxton, who saw to the removal of deteriorating artificial turf that was on property he owns near City Springs. So protecting the aquifer and our drinking water is a process of many steps, and we want to thank you for taking these. And Paul wants to add a little bit about the kids who participated in this.
I think some of you got letters, and there was a couple of phone calls from the kids at Abundance. Did anybody read those? Do you remember those letters?
I don't remember
so.
getting them
I
myself.
didn't see them. So.
Did
There was
anything
one
come
from
to the-
Tavish Johnson, who was
We
the...
welcome those, so
Anyway,
have those sent, we'll get them to everyone on the council. We welcome that.
so I'm speaking on behalf of the Abundance Summer School kids who I work with, and I'm an artist educator, and part of my residency with them was to teach them Indigenous wisdom, which I'm taught bring from Australia, which is caring for your water, caring for your country, caring for your water. And so part of our thing was to do an aquifer tour, and I took them to City Springs, and they were so moved by the rubbish that was there and also the rolls of turf that they wrote letters, and I think 2 of the parents rang up because the kids went home and they were so moved by how bad they thought City Springs were. So on behalf of the kids, I'm here to thank you for taking action, and they were very pleased to hear about the cleanup and the gate and everything. And we did a mural which is in the Civic Centre foyer. So when you go into the Civic Centre for a show, you see a mural that the kids have done which teaches to care for your water. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. And if you'd just be sure to sign there, and appreciate you coming. Is there anyone else that would like to speak before the City Council during this public comment period? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. There will be another at the end of our meeting, which, looking at the agenda, that won't be too far away. So, the next thing we have is I'd like to have the Vice Mayor, Gabriel, take us through changes in the agenda and setting the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move that the following changes to the agenda be approved. To move 9H, Professional Service Agreement for the Pressure Reducing Valve Replacement Project, from consent agenda to regular agenda, item 11A.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we have that item moved, 9H to 11A. All in favor of this change indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Vice Mayor.
And I would move that the agenda be set as changed.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we set the agenda as changed, and the second was by Councilor Pierce. All in favor of setting the agenda indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda now has been set. Next, we have we don't have any proclamations or presentations, nor public hearings today. We do have one announcement. So I think Brooks Webb is going to give us an announcement regarding Christmas trees.
Yeah. Honorable Mayor, City Council, just another reminder, this weekend, there's many volunteer groups across Laramie are banding together to go around and pick up folks' Christmas trees for them. They just ask that they are out at the curb by 9 a.m. It's one day only, this Saturday. They're going to hit the whole town in one day. It's a big feat, but they're going to do it. If people miss it, they can always take their Christmas tree out to the landfill. There's no charge for that, and all the Christmas trees collected will be used in the compost program.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
No.
Okay. Next, are there any disclosures by anyone on the city council with any conflicts of interest on anything on the consent or the regular agenda? Seeing none, go back to the vice mayor for the approval of the consent agenda.
I would move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Councilor Pierce. Could we have roll call?
Harrington,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
Stalder,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you. So the consent agenda has been passed, and now we move to the regular agenda. The first item on the regular agenda is item number 11, original ordinance number 2007. I ask Councilor Schuster to introduce that to the council.
Thank you. The title of the original ordinance is Original Ordinance Number 2007, vacating the alley right-of-way within the Block 183 of Original Town of Laramie. I move to approve Original Ordinance Number 2007 on first reading, vacating approximately 4,600 square foot area of a right-of-way within Block 183, Original Town of Laramie, as recommended by the Planning Commission based on findings of facts and conclusion of law, and set a public hearing for January 21st, 2020.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, Councilor Pierce. Mr. Tini.
Mayor and council, good evening. This is a vacation of an alleyway. This is located in Block 183, Original Town of Laramie. This is actually the block that is located between Ivinson and Grand, 10th and 11th Street. Currently, the University of Wyoming has a parking lot, surface parking lot that is located there. Some of you may remember some history behind the discussion of this site. This is the former site of the old Ivinson Memorial Hospital. At the time, the university had police in there and some other services. They removed that building, and when they removed that building, they did come to the city and they requested vacation of that. And in the staff report, I kind of give some details. That was in 2011. During that process, the real main goal was to vacate the right-of-way and was to construct the parking lot that you see today. Long-term, the university expressed at the time that they would like to see something there in the future, probably more than a parking lot, but at that time, they did not have any plans. So per the requirements, they started through the vacation process. As they went through the vacation process, instead of, during that process, instead of fully vacating the alleyway, they went and completed a license agreement to use that space as a parking lot. With that license agreement, really the large key is that there was public parking made available, some of the metered timed spaces, as well as parking for after hours, essentially, in that space to aid in the neighborhood and allow for spaces within the neighborhood. The applicants then completed a conditional use process, which allowed them to construct the parking lot as you see today, with the landscaping and access to the roads and all those things. Following that, we're now here today. So 10 years 2011, eight years later, they are requesting full vacation of the alleyway. This would relinquish the land to the university, and the city would no longer own it. The city has no utilities. There's nothing located within the old alleyway. It simply is a paper alleyway located on the plat that was originally there. It actually, at the time, went through the old Ivinson Hospital prior to that. And so with this, the applicant is requesting that it be vacated. This is the first reading. Vacations are done by ordinance, so we'll still have 3 readings, and we would have a public hearing. The city, per all of our vacation requirements, we do have specifications in our municipal code regarding valuation of vacations. In this case, this alleyway does not meet the threshold for requesting valuation or compensation for that right-of-way. And so within the staff report, I've kind of provided that outline there, and you can see the criteria that it needs to meet. Finally, with all vacations, we do notice. Notice is sent to property owners in the area as within 300 feet of the alleyway vacation. We've had mostly comments just curious about what a vacation is, and what it allowed. We really haven't had any comments for or against the proposal. We have had comments kind of what's going to happen in the future, but this application here really doesn't address that. And so with that, staff does recommend approval. The Planning Commission did also recommend approval, and I can answer any questions. The University of Wyoming does have a representative here if you have any specific questions for them as well.
I'll make one comment. This is a very important part of the future plans for the University of Wyoming. This is a proposed site for a parking structure. And so it's going to provide quite a bit more parking for this area. And should that go forward, which the plans are, that's probably going to happen. Any questions we have regarding this? Councilor Pierce.
So, Derek, you mentioned that part of the original deal was making space for public parking. And maybe this would be a question for the UW person, but I'm wondering in their plans, if they know at this time, or if they've even considered with a potential new parking garage going in that area, if they will be providing any public parking in a metered situation, or, some other process other than potential staff parking or administrative parking there. Do we know the mix of who all could potentially park there?
Mayor and council,
guess.
I don't, but,
Yeah.
that might be a good question
Yeah.
for.
Welcome.
Hello, I'm Matt Newman, I'm the campus architect, and right now we're in very early kind of feasibility study. There's been no talk of having it be a public parking lot,
Okay.
but we're kind of looking around at not only technology for the parking garage, but also some improved technology for how we do our permits on campus, so it's more of a license plate recognition. But I don't know that there will be any public parking, maybe short-term parking, but it's really to replace the parking that we're taking out for the housing project. So it's mainly for faculty and staff.
Yeah, I know even citizens, aside from staff and faculty, really struggle occasionally to find a place to park on campus. So it might be something to think about and consider, to making some of those slots in that potential new garage, new area for the public to be able to go in there and pay their whatever they need to pay, so they're close to campus.
As Derek mentioned, right now, after hours, that parking lot serves like the A&S building when they have events and things there. So I don't have an answer for you on exactly
Right.
how all of that would work, but that's a need that the community has to provide parking for those kinds of events. So
Right, and
I will take that back to our group.
yeah, even meetings during the day. I mean, I talked to plenty of people who are not employed by UW who struggle
Sure.
to make it to certain meetings on campus. I would suspect even our own staff, when they go and meet with UW, struggle to find parking. I've got a couple nods in the in our limited audience tonight saying they struggle to find parking when they're attending meetings. So it'd be great if that were a consideration.
Well, I will take that back to our group as we get
Thank
into
you.
this.
I think it's important to note also, and then I'll go to Councilor Schuster, we did negotiate agreement. I don't know if it was permanent or not, because, we're looking now to make this permanent, to have metered parking available during the day for the public there. And so hopefully, this is not going to be all a parking structure, but other areas for parking, I'm sure. But even in the parking structure, hopefully there'll be areas for the public during the day, because this is an important connection between the city and the university, and hopefully we can, we don't have a lot to leverage, because this is a alley that never existed. We're negotiating away, but it does belong to the city, and it's part of this discussion.
Well,
So let's go to Councilor Schuster, and I'll come back to you. Councilor Schuster?
The only comment I want, since you're taking things back, is there is a church across the street. I know on Sundays, they do use that parking lot. So I'm hopeful whatever structure you have, that they still will make it welcome to the public for that scenario. And also, just like you said, when A&S is doing something, that it is a phenomenal parking lot to have
That's a
after hours. Because I know they quit patrolling it at a certain time at night, so. I'm sure that it's gonna be that people that have A permits, and even a student, if they wanna pay it, they can buy an A permit, so. Whether it's by license plate or by permit.
Councilor Pierce?
yeah, and I think they recently, within the last year, took out some of the metered parking that was between Knight and Co. So there was because they saved some of those spots for admissions for people coming into Knight for, doing their admissions process at UW. So I think they've actually recently lost some of those meters. Because, that's only like a block away, so.
Thank you. Councilor Weaver?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and appreciate your attendance at our meeting. And of course, there's an understanding, I think, on the part of the council that the University of Wyoming wants to maximize its spaces, whatever they've determined the use for those spaces to be, and that includes parking. But just so that it's a loud and clear message from our council, it would be good that our hopes that this not be 100% tied to one exclusive user group, and that there was some thought towards a metered parking use, at least for part of the facility, would be good. And I think up here on the council, this is our effort at due diligence, because as parking is an issue on campus, then people seek to find the closest possible parking off campus in front of our city residents' homes. And it continues to be an issue that we all struggle with, and that the two agencies try to find solutions for. So just adding to that message, that the hope is that some thought be given to that need. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions? And again, thank you for your attendance.
You're welcome.
Hopefully this.
Thanks for having us.
I'm sure this will be worked out well, but thank you. Anything else from the council? Let's go to the public. Anyone from the public want to make comments regarding this item? Any comments from the council? Roll call.
McKinney,
No.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
Weaver,
No.
Harrington.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Stalder.
No.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses and 3 noes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that item passes. Now we go to item number 11A, and that, I believe, is Counselor O'Doherty.
I move to award a professional services agreement for the design of the pressure-reducing valve replacement project to WWC Engineering of Laramie, Wyoming, in the amount of $43,500.00, plus a contingency of $4,350.00, for a total not to exceed $47,850.00, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Counselor Schuster. Mr. Webb, do you want to introduce this to us?
Sure. Honorable Mayor, City Council, this item is for the design to replace a pressure-reducing valve near the Motel 6. It's basically past its useful life and is wearing out and needs to be replaced. We went out for a request for qualifications in November, and we received three proposals back from Dow Engineering Associates and WWC Engineering. Staff reviewed the 3 proposals and interviewed all 3 firms and selected WWC of Laramie. And with that, if there's any questions.
Counselor O'Doherty?
I have a question. I have great confidence in this engineering firm, so that's not my question. Would like to just know a little more of the physics of the pressure-reducing valve. Is it because it's a low point in the system?
It's not necessarily a low point in the system. There's a zone break right there. We have go from, I can't remember which zone it is, but we have separate zones throughout the city, and that's a zone change right there. And so to keep the pressures even and the flow moving, making sense.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Okay, that's-
So just a
thank-
zone break.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions regarding this project? Thank you, Mr. Webb. Anyone from the public want to make comments or questions regarding this project? Council, any comments? All right. Oh, yes, Counselor Weaver.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, just
I was waiting for you.
Just for the sake of it, you know, that's, I think when we look at these kinds of items that come forward, it's just yet another reminder of how much long-term planning the city has to do with all of its infrastructure, and how we have to always be looking towards replacement schedule, and that is part of our fiscal approach with reserves, our budgeting, and working with our enterprise funds to make sure that the machinery of the city that we don't think about when we just go turn on the tap keeps working the way that it needs to. And it's worth noting that when we look at these and these things come forward, it's not as easy as just turning the tap on. A lot goes into it, and it requires a lot of long-term planning and careful work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Roll call.
Weaver.
Yes.
Stalder.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. That completes our regular agenda items. Now we go back to public comments. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make comments at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. And then now, let's go to the council again and ask if there's any items for future council work session topics.
Mr. Mayor, that list is still pretty long, and we're working our way through it, so I'd hate to add any, from my perspective, I'd hate to add more.
You can always put it on the list. Anything anyone wants to put on the list?
For 2025.
Exactly.
Yes.
Starting to feel that way.
Council's from there.
Yeah.
Our staff is bringing this number down, so we're making
Mr.
progress.
Mayor,
List is shorter.
I'd note that we do have that important one that many counselors have expressed an interest in coming up soon next week for the 14th with the recycling, and looking forward to hearing some new information about that and just all of the updates.
Good.
I think members of the community
Good
will as well.
reminder. All right, seeing no new items for consideration of work topics, I'll ask Counselor Pierce to take item number 14.
I move that we adjourn.
Second. Moved and seconded, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, we're adjourned.